There's a little tin of healing salve that lives on the shelf in this house, and it has soothed more chapped hands, cracked heels, scraped knees, and dry winter skin than I could count. And it was made right here in our own kitchen from oil, a bit of beeswax, and herbs from the garden for a fraction of what a little jar of ointment costs at the store. I am going to show you today how to make your own healing salve, a simple all-purpose balm for the everyday hurts and dry skin of an ordinary life. And I am going to be honest and careful, more careful than most, about what such a salve is good for and what it is not, because this touches on health, and I will not have anyone trust it where they ought to trust a doctor. Let me say that plainly right at the start, before anything else, because it matters most. The salve I am going to show you is for the small, everyday things: chapped and dry skin, cracked hands and heels, minor scrapes and scratches, rough elbows, the ordinary wear that winter and work put on the skin. It is a skin balm, a comfort and a protection. It is not a medicine for serious things. It is not for deep cuts, not for bad burns, not for wounds that are infected or will not heal, not for anything that is swelling, spreading, or making you ill. Those are for a doctor, every time, and no homemade salve is a substitute for proper care. I will say more about this as we go, but I wanted it said first and clearly. This is for everyday dry and scraped skin, and the serious things go to the doctor. Honest is always better than careless, and never more so than with health. My name is Eli Zook. I am Amish, and I farm here in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. We tend our own small hurts and dry skin with simple things, as folk always did. A salve made from oil steeped with healing herbs and set with a little beeswax, kept in tins on the shelf for every chapped hand and scraped knee in the family. It is one of the oldest and simplest preparations there is, and it costs almost nothing to make a year's supply. I am going to show you the whole of it today, plainly, with the honest cautions a thing like this deserves. I am going to show you how to make the salve from start to finish, how to steep the oil with herbs, and how to set it with beeswax into a firm balm. I'm going to walk you through it slow and plain, and I'm going to be honest the whole way about the safety, about which herbs, about allergies and testing, about what to use it on and what never to. There is also one thing, one simple step at the very beginning that decides whether your salve keeps for a year or spoils in a month, and almost everyone who fails skips it. Stay for that part especially. Here's what you need, and it is little and cheap. You need an oil, a plain, good oil such as olive oil, which is what folk most often used, and it keeps well. You need beeswax, which sets the oil into a firm salve and protects the skin. A small block goes a very long way. You need herbs, and the gentlest, most useful, time-honored ones for the skin are calendula, the marigold flower, which is the kindest and most all-purpose, plantain, the common yardweed, wonderful for scrapes and bites, and chamomile, soothing and mild. You need a clean jar for steeping, a way to strain, a pot for a gentle water bath, and small clean tins or jars to hold the finished salve. Oil, beeswax, dried herbs, and clean tins. That is the whole of it, and it makes far more than one little store jar for the same money. Now here is the secret I promised, the one step that decides whether your salve keeps or spoils. So listen close. The herbs must be dry, thoroughly dried, before they ever go into the oil. Here's why. The thing that spoils a salve, that turns it moldy or rancid, is water, and fresh herbs are full of water. If you steep fresh, damp herbs in your oil, that water gets into the salve, and within weeks it will grow mold or go bad. But dried herbs, with their water gone, give all their goodness to the oil and none of the moisture. And a salve made with properly dried herbs and kept clean will last a year or more. So you dry your herbs first, fully, until they crumble, before you steep them in the oil. This one step, drying the herbs, is the difference between a salve that keeps on the shelf for a year and one that spoils in a month, and it is the thing folks most often get wrong. Dry herbs, never fresh. Remember that above all. So here is how you make it. First, the infused oil. You take your thoroughly dried herbs, calendula flowers, say, and put them in a clean, dry jar and cover them completely with your oil. Now you steep the goodness of the herbs into the oil, and there are two ways. The slow way, the gentlest, is to set the jar in a warm, sunny window and let it steep for a few weeks, shaking it now and then, letting the warmth draw the herb's virtue into the oil. The quick way is the gentle heat method. You set the jar of oil and herbs in a pot of water over low heat, a water bath, never directly on the burner, and keep it warm, not hot, never frying or bubbling the herbs, for an hour or two, letting the warm oil draw out the goodness. Either way, when the oil is taken on the color and scent of the herbs, you strain it through a cloth, squeezing out every drop, and discard the spent herbs. Now you have your healing infused oil. Then you set it into a salve with the beeswax. You gently warm the strained oil in the water bath and add beeswax to it. The old measure is about 1 part beeswax to 4 parts oil by rough measure, more wax for a firmer salve, less for a softer one. You stir until the beeswax is fully melted into the oil, and to test the firmness, you dip a cold spoon in and let it cool for a moment. If it sets too hard, add a little more oil. Too soft, add a little more wax. When it is right, you pour the warm liquid into your clean, dry tins, and as it cools, it sets into a smooth, firm salve. Label it with what it is and the date, and that is your healing salve, ready on the shelf, made for pennies, enough to last a long while. Now I have to give you the safety in full because this touches health, and I will be thorough. First, the honest limits again. This salve is for minor, everyday skin. Chapped, dry, cracked skin, minor scrapes and scratches, rough patches. It is not for deep or serious wounds, not for burns beyond the most minor, not for anything infected, swelling, spreading, oozing, or making you feel unwell, and not for anything that will not heal. All of those go to a doctor, and putting a salve on a wound that needs real care can do harm by sealing an infection. Do not put salve on a deep or dirty wound or a serious burn. Second, allergies. Anyone can be sensitive to a plant or an oil, so before you use a new salve all over, do a patch test. A dab on the inside of the wrist, and wait a day to be sure your skin does not react. Third, a word on the herbs. Calendula, plantain, and chamomile are among the gentlest and most time-honored for the skin, and are good choices. Some herbs the old folks used, like comfrey, are powerful and best used with knowledge, and not on broken skin or deep wounds, so for a simple all-purpose salve, stick to the gentle, well-known skin herbs. Fourth, keep it clean. Use dried herbs, clean dried tins, clean hands, or a clean tool to scoop it, so you do not introduce water or dirt that would spoil it. And if a salve ever smells rancid or shows mold, throw it out. Minor skin only, patch test, gentle known herbs, keep it clean, and the serious things to the doctor. Now let me give you the deeper part and the variations. You can blend herbs, calendula and plantain together, make a fine all-purpose salve, the calendula soothing and the plantain good for scrapes and bites. You can make a softer salve, more of a balm, with less beeswax, lovely for lips and faces, or a firmer one, more wax for a protective barrier on cracked working hands and heels in winter. A few drops of vitamin E oil, if you have it, helps it keep. You can scent it gently and add to its virtue with a little of certain essential oils, such as lavender, though use those sparingly and know that they too can cause sensitivity in some. And the same method, infused oil set with beeswax, is the foundation of lip balm, of a chest rub, of a hand salve, of all manner of simple skin preparations our great grandmothers made, all from the same few ingredients. Learn the one, and you can make them all. And here is the thrift of it. The herbs you grow yourself for nothing, a bottle of oil and a small block of beeswax cost little and make many tins, and a single batch gives you salve for the whole family for a long while, for a fraction of one little store jar. Let me give you the troubleshooting. If your salve grew mold or went bad quickly, there was water in it, your herbs were not fully dried, or moisture got in. Use bone-dry herbs and clean dry tins. If it is too hard and won't rub in, you use too much beeswax. Remelt it and add more oil. If it is too soft and greasy, too little wax, remelt and add more. If it smells rancid, the oil went off. Use a fresh, good oil and keep the salve cool and out of the light, and it will last far longer. If your skin reacts to it, you may be sensitive to one of the herbs or oils. That is why we patch test first. Nearly every trouble comes back to moisture, the wax to oil balance, or a sensitivity, and all are easily set right. Let me tell you more about the two ways of infusing the oil, because each has its place. The slow, sunny way is the gentlest and the old folks' favorite. You fill a clean, dry jar with your dried herbs, cover them well with oil, cap it, and set it in a warm, sunny window for 2 to 6 weeks, shaking it every day or two. The gentle warmth of the sun slowly draws the herb's goodness into the oil without ever heating it enough to harm it, and you end with a rich, golden, fragrant oil. It asks only patience. The quick way, for when you cannot wait weeks, is the gentle heat method. The jar or a pot of oil and herbs set inside a larger pot of water, a water bath, kept warm over low heat for an hour or two, never hot enough to fry or bubble the herbs, just warm enough to coax the goodness out. The slow way makes the finest oil, the quick way makes good oil today. Either way, you strain well through a cloth and squeeze every drop, and you have your healing oil ready to set into salve. Let me say more about the herbs, with the honest caution kept front and center, because the herb is the heart of the salve. Calendula, the orange marigold flower, is the kindest and most all-purpose of all the skin herbs. Soothing, gentle, good for dry, chapped, and irritated skin and minor scrapes, and safe for nearly everyone. If you grow and dry only one herb for salve, grow calendula. Plantain, the common broadleaf weed in every yard, is wonderful for minor scrapes, bites, and stings, drawing and soothing. Chamomile is calming and mild, good for sensitive and irritated skin. Lavender, dried, adds a gentle scent and soothing virtue. These gentle, well-known skin herbs are the ones to use. Now, the honest caution, some herbs the old folks used are far more powerful and are not for casual use. Comfrey, for instance, is a strong healer, but should not be used on deep or broken wounds or where it might be absorbed too freely, and is best left to those who know it well. So for a simple all-purpose family salve, you stick to the gentle, proven, well-known skin herbs: calendula, plantain, chamomile, lavender, and you leave the powerful ones alone unless you have studied them properly. Gentle, known herbs for a gentle, everyday salve. Let me say more about keeping it and the variations, because one batch can serve many needs. A salve made with thoroughly dried herbs, good oil, and clean dry tins kept cool and out of the light will keep a year or more. A few drops of vitamin E oil added at the end helps it keep longer still. By changing only the amount of beeswax, you make different things from the same oil. Less wax gives a soft, spreadable balm, lovely for lips and faces and a gentle hand cream. More wax gives a firm, protective salve, a barrier balm for cracked working hands and heels through the winter. The very same infused oil and beeswax in different proportions becomes your lip balm, your hand balm, your healing salve, and your chest rub. Learn the one method, and you can make a whole shelf of simple skin preparations, each for pennies, each far better and purer than the little jars at the store. And a tin of homemade salve, I will add, makes a fine and thoughtful gift, worth far more in the giving than it costs to make. Let me tell you a little of where this comes from, for it humbles the store jar. Salves and balms of oil, fat, wax, and healing herbs are among the oldest preparations mankind has. Every traditional culture on earth had its healing ointments made from the plants at hand, and the fat or oil they had kept in the home for the small hurts of daily life, passed from mother to daughter. The grandmother's salve tin on the shelf was once in every home, made each year from the garden's herbs, tending the family's chapped hands and scraped knees for nothing. That such a simple, ancient, useful thing has been replaced by a row of expensive little branded jars tells you exactly what has been taken from us and sold back. And let me leave you with the plain measure to remember, so you need not guess. For the salve itself, the rule of thumb is about 1 part beeswax to 4 parts of your infused oil by rough volume. That gives a firm but spreadable salve. Want it softer, more of a balm for lips and faces? Use less wax, 1 part to 5 or 6. Want it firmer, a hard barrier balm for cracked winter hands and heels? Use more wax, 1 part to 3. And always test before you pour. Dip a cold spoon in the warm mix. Let it set a moment, feel it, and adjust with a little more oil or a little more wax until it is just right. 1 to 4 for a good all-purpose salve, adjusted by the cold spoon test. That is all the measuring you need. Now I want to take a moment, because this is the part that matters. Think about who profits from that little jar of ointment on the store shelf. A small tin of healing balm or hand salve is sold for a price many times the few cents of oil and wax inside it, and you buy it again when it runs out, and again. The whole notion that tending your own dry and scraped skin requires a branded product from a shelf is a recent one. For all of history, every household made its own simple salve from oil, wax, and the herbs growing at the door for nothing, and kept tins of it on the shelf for every small hurt. There is no company that profits from a family that grows its own calendula and steeps its own oil and pours its own salve. So a simple, ancient, useful skill was let slip away, replaced by a row of little jars at the store, not because the homemade salve stopped working. It works exactly as it always did. But because there is no money in a balm you can make yourself for pennies. So here is what I want you to do. This summer, grow or gather a little calendula or plantain and dry it well. Then steep it in a jar of good oil in a sunny window or a gentle water bath, strain it, and set it with a bit of beeswax into a few clean tins. Label them, keep them clean and cool, and put one on the shelf for the chapped hands and scraped knees of winter. Patch test it first. Use it for the small everyday things, and keep the serious things for the doctor. Made once It will tend your family's small hurts all year for almost nothing. Tell me in the comments below, did your grandmother keep a homemade salve or balm on the shelf, and what did she put in it? And what is the everyday skin trouble you would most want a good salve for? I read every single one of these, and the old ways you all share are the reason I keep doing this. And I will say it once more plainly because it matters. This is for minor everyday skin. Anything serious, infected, deep, or that will not heal goes to a doctor. Next time, I am going to show you how this family makes a simple lip balm and a soothing hand balm from the very same oil and beeswax for the cracked lips and hands of the cold months. It is the natural next step after today. Until then, dry your herbs well, keep it clean, patch test, and remember the people who built this country with their hands, new things we are only just starting to remember.